ReZero is back, baby. ReZero is back with season 3, and what an incredible premiere. An hour and a half long premiere. There is so much to go over with this first impressions of this season opening up, and I don't even know where to start. We got some amazing Beatrice moments. Beatrice and Subaru's relationship over the last year has really gotten so freaking strong. I just absolutely adore Beatrice. But yes, we got into the Astria family. We got some new introductions. We got this new location. Wrath shows up. My gosh, we had to end on Wrath showing up and us having a reset. I just kind of assume we were going to have a reset by the end of it. So when Wrath showed up, I'm like, okay, how is Subaru going to die? I wasn't really expecting that. They sort of imply this idea that it might just be a culmination of things, but it just seems like Wrath's ability is to kind of make everybody become the same, become one. Everybody is on equal terms. Everybody is on equal mind. We're all of one heart. And then sacrificing one individual, this poor kid. Good on that kid, though. That boy, my heart goes out to him, but he was strong. He was brave. He technically did save the one that he loved. There was a choice there what they were going to pick up, and the boy basically said, take me. So he technically saved the one that he loved. Good boy. But no, dropping him, everybody dies. Now, I'm very curious as to if it only affected those that were in that courtyard, Subaru and everybody that was there that was speaking to Wrath, or if maybe possibly it affects a larger area and more people died. Either way, that's our trigger point for the reset, and I was like, okay, yeah. And I have to admit, the moment that he wakes, I'm like, okay, so where are we resetting to? How far back are we going? Because that's always the question. Every single time there's a reset, how far back? And the moment that we seen Liliana, like, right in front of him, I was like, oh, okay, is this the first time? Or, okay, no, she talked about this next. Okay, so this is the second time. We did not go back that far. A big surprise there. I don't know if maybe possibly in the future resets get worse, but it didn't seem like much was lost. And that's typically what happens with the resets. It's always like, oh gosh, we just lost all this progress. And there was a few mess ups during that time period of them being in this town that I really did feel like, okay, this could be our reset point here, because it seems like he kind of messed up here. For example, the whole thing with him taking Liliana to this guy and them, ruining their chances of getting the gym, then I was like, okay, there's a reset point right there, making little goofs here or there. But no, let's just get into the episode proper. Let me just start from the beginning and go through it. That's the best way for me to not kind of skip anything or forget to cover something. But we open it up with Subaru doing his training. I like how they did a little bit of callback to the first episode of the first season, where instead of having Felt kind of jumping across the roofs, it's Subaru instead. He's jumping across things. I thought that was a nice little kind of callback to that. But yes, Beatrice showing up, and again, kind of showing how their relationship has really gotten strong. Yeah, yes, they were friends, or at least there was like a tsundere nature of Beatrice, and they were kind of forming a bond. And yes, there was a big changing point between the two of them when she finally kind of accepted him, and he accepted her the proper way. But yeah, the two of them are just kind of buddies, like super buddies. Like, he's just kind of totally just coddling her, and she's just totally into it. And she's acting like she's still got a little bit of tsundere in there. But yes, that's when Julius's brother shows up, Yashua Euclius, which it seems like he's like a massive brocon. Like, he's totally into his brother. Like, his brother's the greatest thing ever. We also have Mimi showing up there, and it seems like Mimi is like really into Garf. Really into Garf. And it's so funny because it does seem like there's a bit here about Mimi, yes, obviously being introduced to Garf and the fact that Garf is talking about food. And Mimi really likes food. So with Garf talking about food, Mimi's completely into him. But it carries over to the later parts of the episode where suddenly Garf shows up and Mimi's all excited to see Garf and drags him off to somewhere. And then, yes, later on having Garf having this little difficulty and then Mimi showing up and trying to encourage him to be a better person. I really think that's a really cool thing there. I don't think I ever had a feeling of Garf being similar to Subaru, but it does seem like based on him being defeated by Subaru and hanging out with Subaru now, it does seem like he's getting a little bit of Subaru's personality. Yes, he's always been kind of the cool guy. He's always the cool guy. But it does seem like there's a little bit of Subaru getting in him, where that little bit of silliness gets in there that he's starting to kind of show, which is kind of funny. But yeah, a lot of this episode was really Garf having a lot of difficulties in being confronted by Reinhardt. The moment that Garf sees Reinhardt, gets a little bit of a panic there, turns around, immediately attacks Reinhardt, seeing him as a threat to the group, and just being held back by a mere palm of Reinhardt, because Reinhardt is just too freaking bad. But yeah, holds him back. But that's kind of breaks that confidence in Garf. And so it does really feel like his character, he felt like he got pushed back. And that all is kind of solidified later on when he leaves Subaru and walks out for a little bit. it does seem like he has a little bit of a fear that he's not good enough. And I was kind of a little bit shocked there because suddenly out of nowhere, Elsa shows up and I was like, okay, I wasn't really sure if 100% Elsa was dead because we've seen Elsa get destroyed over and over again and she always somehow manages to get out of it. She always manages to survive. And then here, suddenly she shows up behind Garf and she's like, why do you keep seeing me? It's because you knew that you're weak. You know that you're weak. And the only reason that you beat me, the only reason that you killed me was just random luck. Now, again, this is seemingly in his head. For a minute there, I thought it was actually Elsa, and I was like, oh crap, now we're going to fight again. Maybe Elsa's obsessed with Garf now because Garf defeated her. No, this is in Garf's head. He's seeing Elsa because he feels that he, by dumb luck, defeated her. That he's actually extremely weak. And again, through what's happening with Reinhardt, him attacking Reinhardt and him being just pretty much brushed aside, he feels like he's too weak. He wants to get stronger. So there's a lot of difficulty in his mind right now about him feeling extremely weak. But yes, even still, I still have the question mark, is Elsa even dead? I still kind of wonder, is Elsa even dead? Maybe this is implanting that doubt in my head, but again, I've seen her die in gruesome ways over and over again, and she never actually ever died. So maybe she finally did die. I don't know. I probably won't believe it until the entire series is done or something. Or maybe somebody else kind of mentions it. Yes, for sure she's dead. But anyways, yes, I really like Mimi showing up and being like, why do you have that look on your face? You're much cooler when you're your usual self, basically, and just kind of cheers him up. I just love this. And again, totally shipping the two. It kind of came out of nowhere with this episode, but yes, I completely ship Mimi and Garf. I think they're just really cute together. And yes, technically Ram is never going to happen. I'm sorry, Garf. And maybe Garf has finally accepted that. I'm sorry, that's never going to happen. We've established that Mimi apparently is pretty much a full-grown adult at this point for their race or whatever, so Garf, it's open door there. But that was a little cute little segment, and Garf, saying that he's going to get stronger and going to save the kids and them all hanging out together. It was really cute. But yes, wrapping up that whole segment there with Garf meeting his mother, ? Maybe. I mean, we've basically, I don't know. I don't know that they said they actually found her body. They did say that she died, but did she ? I don't know. I have two theories here. One is this some evil person that is taking upon themselves the appearance of Garf's mother in order to control him. The other thing here is that, yes, it could technically be Garf's mother, and there's a possibility that maybe she was attacked by Gluttony as well. With the one thing that we have here, and it's definitely present in this episode because they're bringing it back up, is yes, that when Gluttony attacks people, he's able to consume their memories. So there's a chance that Garf's mother, upon leaving there, was attacked by Gluttony, and then, without any sort of memories, ended up in this town and started raising another family. She looks way too young, though. That's the bigger problem, is she looks pretty much like what we've seen briefly of Garf's mother before. So I don't think it's going to be his mother. I think it's probably going to be a shapeshifter, because the other problem here is that, yes, Mimi's with Garf, and they haven't seen them since the night before. So even if it was Garf's actual mother, even if it was, a misunderstanding, you would think that Mimi and Garf would eventually come, or at least Mimi would come back home. So I don't know. This seems to be kind of one of those things where I'm kind of thinking it's probably going to be somebody bad. So we'll have to see. But anyhow, that's whole Garf's whole thing. Really cool little segment. And again, totally loving this little chemistry between him and Mimi. Mimi kind of cheering him up, keeping him kind of boosted up, because again, he's got this difficulty that he's currently facing. Anyways, I got ahead of myself, but yes, the whole reason that they're leaving for this town is apparently that Anastasia has contacted them because Anastasia has found a particular catalyst, a gem that, yes, Emilia is currently looking for in order to restore a spirit. And I'm assuming, yes, it's going to be Puck, that she wants to restore Puck. It obviously shows a gem. That's where Puck was kind of being stored at, and that pack was kind of ruined there back in the previous season because Roswell wanted to break that connection because he wanted to have Emilia break down. And so she's lost that connection to Puck, and this is apparently going to be the way to restore it. It was kind of interesting because at some point Subaru was kind of questioning it, like, I don't know if this is a really good idea. Should we actually go do this with Anastasia? Because he knows full well. He's actually had experience with Anastasia before. Anastasia before, when he was in a really bad state, met up with Anastasia, and she got information out of him while talking to him. And eventually she's like, no, you paid me enough. You gave me a bunch of information that I wanted. And he's like, oh, so you tricked me. It really ticked him off. He knows how Anastasia is. Anastasia does not just meet with somebody just to give them something, just to kind of hang out and talk. She's always there for a deal. So yes, obviously Super is going to question, should we even take this from Anastasia because we're going to owe her something? But I like how Amelia is sort of kind of innocently trusting to the idea of like, well, it doesn't really matter. If she wants to do this or help us out, that's great. If I can restore this, it doesn't really matter. Which, yes, technically raises the question mark. If you can get Puck back, is there really anything you wouldn't pay? Really, for Puck to come back, what wouldn't you pay? But no, that meeting room was really great. They brought up, who is this girl? Oh, Beatrice? Yeah, that's our baby. No, Mimi said it was Subaru and Amelia's baby. And he's like, yeah, it's our baby. And then Amelia's like, no, all we did was kiss. And I did some research and I found out, yes, you don't get pregnant just by kissing. It's like, oh, you didn't have to actually mention all the details about us actually kissing. But now that's when we go to Pristella, which this is just kind of opening up a massive can of worms. And I was really kind of curious when this might actually happen, because this is technically a staple in a lot of isekais. That certain point in which you kind of realize that, the current isekai character, the main character, is not alone. That somebody else has come to this world, which I usually always kind of have a pre-assumption that at some point that will happen in an isekai story. If you're there, there's probably a good chance that somebody else is there. But yes, Pristella is bordering Kararagi City, which apparently Kararagi City has a lot of things that are, I forget exactly how they translate it in the video that I watched. It was like Japanese like Japanese or something like that. Basically Japanese. It's another way of saying Japanese. It's apparently built on top of a lake. They're using technology from 400 years ago, and it's got a trap designed to collect water at the center. And Subaru questions if it was possibly a trap for a witch beast, which is very interesting. But yes, the Kararagi style, which again, that's the city that is bordered to this, says it was apparently built by Hoshin of the Waste, the hero Kararagi who built Pristella. He's a revolutionary from 400 years ago, and obviously, immediately Subaru's kind of questioning, this guy's got to be an isekai like me. Because yes, we have the flooring, everything's pretty much Japanese style. Like the flooring, the walls, everything, the architecture, everything. They even have an onsen and a massage chair. Like everything is screaming Japanese. They're coming in there with yukatas. The food's the same, everything. So yes, very intriguing, but again, kind of a lot of things that I assume was going to be the case, that eventually is probably going to run into somebody else that was probably isekai. The question mark is Hoshin still around? The assumption is that Hoshin's not around anymore. They passed away or whatever, some person from a long time ago, but I don't know, maybe there's going to still be a case there, possibly a descendant of them, or stories that he can possibly find. But no, we meet up with Anastasia. We end up finding out about the gym that we end up going to find. Subaru ends up running into the songstress that apparently the guy's obsessed with. They hang out for a little bit. I kind of have some massive question marks about the songstress. Liliana, when they first arrives at Liliana, she is telling some kind of depressing story in her song. And immediately Subaru just kind of goes, man, now I realize the lyrics, this is a really bad song, which completely ticks everybody off. They all throw stuff at him and they end up leaving. But here's the thing. As Beatrice is talking to Subaru, eventually Liliana starts up another song. Now, the song I can kind of portray two different ways. It kind of, at first, when I read the lyrics, it sounded like Liliana was talking about age gap love. Because it was talking about this idea of the gap between their time of love and, yes, about growing up and everything like that, wait for me and everything. It really felt like an age gap song. And so Subaru immediately jumps up and starts joining in on the song, and they're having fun together. It almost felt like, because she's seeing Beatrice next to him and how young she looks, that she was basically playing into them by singing about that, which I can kind of feel is probably the same for the people that were there before. She's seen the people and was singing about their hardships or whatnot. And now seeing Subaru and Beatrice suddenly start singing about a relationship between an age gap. Now, the other more interesting way this could be interpreted is that she's singing about Subaru and his relationship with Emilia, and the idea of talking about how his love itself has blossomed over many more years than Emilia herself because of all the resets that he's doing. He's resetting so many times that he has spent much more time loving Emilia than Emilia has loved him. Yeah, and technically it can kind of play in the idea that, yes, he's been loving her for much longer, putting aside the actual resets, that he's loved her longer than she has loved him. That makes more sense to why he kind of jumps into the song itself and sings along with it, is because, oh, she's literally singing about me. That makes more sense. Now, later on, when they start doing this broadcast later on, and you had this whole situation that was happening with the Austria family, what song does she sing? It takes off super immediately, but it jumped in my head. Why is she suddenly singing about this? Why is she suddenly singing about them specifically at this time?
it makes me believe that Liliana has some sort of ability to know about people that she's singing to. And she's able to sing the songs that they want to hear. She's able to get some sort of memory out of them, some sort of feeling out of them, and know exactly what to sing. Which does sort of make me wonder how that could possibly play into Sirius Wrath, the Archbishop of Wrath that shows up at the end. What was the Archbishop of Wrath doing? Was playing into people's hearts and what they were feeling in order to connect with them. And I kind of wonder if there might be a possibility there's a reason for the two of these individuals being in the same place at the same time. Not to say that Liliana is working for Wrath, not to say that Wrath controlling Liliana, not that they have any sort of connection, but there's a similarity there, or possibly some sort of connection that they can make between each other. But I found that very interesting, that suddenly it could just be by random chance that she's singing about this legend right when there's a family feud happening and they're trying to make a connection. But it does kind of make me wonder if there's something more about Liliana. But yeah, she's a dork. I actually love her. Her and Subaru singing together. It was so freaking dorky. He's just over there doing this whole rap thing. She's just singing along. They just become really good friends right there. Later on, she finds out who Subaru is. She starts geeking out about like all these stories about Subaru, which is interesting. And yes, this is technically a year after the events of the previous season. So a whole year has passed. A lot of times for the exploits of Subaru to get out there. And yes, in most cases, like with the whole whale, yes, they were saying specifically we were going to give him credit. They were giving Subaru credit because he's the one that brought this all together. But it was very curious to know that the stories about specifically the Great Rabbit got out too. That word about what Subaru did in taking down the Great Rabbit got out as well, which was in the Sanctum. It was in this secluded location, so maybe possibly some of the villagers there, or possibly Roswaal himself, spread word that Subaru defeated him in order to boost up their reputation. So it does make sense why word would get out, and her being a bard, she's going to be looking for those stories. And right here, she's like, I want to sit down and talk to you because I want to hear your stories so I can tell more stories as a bard. So it was really cool. Still very interesting that amount of his feats has actually gotten out to the public. And then she calls him a kitty mancer. I mean, it makes sense. Yes, he basically defeated the Great Rabbit with the cute little lolly Beatrice. Okay, why not? But yes, following this, he messes up the whole trade because he was holding on to Liliana. And for some reason, when the doors open, she said something to the effect of, "Make me a woman." I don't know what that was. I don't know if that's maybe a goofed up translation. I don't know why she would scream that out when going through the door, unless it's just a really cheesy way of making misunderstandings. But usually you kind of have a little bit of a joke lead up there. It's weird. But yeah, as they're leaving, I like how everybody's kind of like, it's fine. We'll figure something out. It's not the end of the world. But yes, as they're leaving, they bump into Regulus. The Archbishop agreed. Just bump into him. Just bump right into him. And nothing comes of it. That was very curious. It was kind of a nod for a minute there. I'm sure eventually they're going to probably have to fight him because he's in the town and he's obviously probably not going to just be there to hang out. Yes, Subaru says, we apologize, all that kind of stuff. It's all water under the bridge. He says, I appreciate that and all that kind of stuff. Have little reason to fixate myself on your group for the moment. If we meet again, whims of fate reunited us. Very weird. Very interesting statement there. He's saying, for the moment, I'm not interested in quarreling with you. So he's obviously indicating here that I will eventually need to, interact with you, but just not for the moment. But yes, hopefully fate's, whims will bring us back together. And of course, Amelia realizes that I feel like I've met him before, which makes sense because even though she has had her memories lost from previously, yes, she did meet him previously, but she still recognizes him because there's going to be that sense of that memory in there. So yeah, that was a little bit of a gut punch the moment that he walked by, and I'm like, wow, I'm surprised that wasn't a reset point. It just kind of just shrugs it off and walks past him. Okay, I guess we're not doing this yet. But yeah, going back to the inn, we run into Lashins, which that was a surprise to have him come back in the story. I think I seen him briefly in one of the trailers, so I kind of expected that he was going to show back up. But yeah, apparently they want to drag him back in, which makes sense because as we see from, Reinhardt showing up and us getting into Felt is that, yes, what Felt has been doing on the side, well, we actually found out about this from Otto because he did this massive update, is that during this entire time, yes, Felt has been basically raising up those that are discarded from society. That's her thing. She was a reject of society. She was in the slums. So obviously, if she's looking for people to back her, she's not going to go to nobles. No noble is going to listen to her. Just like what Priscilla did. Priscilla sees her as a commoner, a lowly commoner. Don't speak to me. Get out of my way. Spit on him, basically. Felt like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the people that will listen to me. The people that want to rise up, the people that want to get out of the gutter, I'm going to go get them. The rejects of society. And so obviously, yes, he's going to be one of them. It makes perfect sense that that's going to be her ally. Yeah, Felt in this episode was really good. But yeah, during that time with Otto, yes, they did mention the fact that obviously Krush is not doing very well because she lost her memories. Everybody else is kind of boosting up. Amelia's been boosting up. Priscilla's been boosting up. She's got this inheritance from her late husband, and she's been essentially getting all the men. Let's just face it, Priscilla's probably just snagging up all the men. She's just kind of charming all the men or something like that. And yes, Anastasia has been rising up. It was interesting to find out that technically, initially, when it first started, it was technically Krush and Anastasia, which makes sense because, yeah, Krush was pretty much like power. She's a princess. And then you have Anastasia over here. Yes, she's technically massive in business. So it makes sense these are like the two major people, like the conglomerate and the military power, basically. But it was more funny to find out that, yeah, pretty much, I mean, I understand Felt, I understand Amelia, but like other characters like Priscilla, it seemed like a lot of the other individuals that were a part of this entire thing just weren't even a blip on people's radars until now. That said, I do like how Otto has kind of joined the group. I mean, again, that was kind of the feeling I got with after an entire year span. It really does feel like Amelia's camp essentially has been kind of structured in a way. You have Garf has his position. You have Subaru has his position. You have Otto has his position. Everybody has a position in this camp now. I guess we can start getting into Austria now. But yes, we had quite a bit of Wilhelm's whole situation here. The initial scene that we had was Wilhelm talking to Subaru about, yes, this massive regret that he has. That he's finally able to say Reinhard again, following defeating the whale. Yes, everybody's kind of going, wow, wait, you're actually related? I didn't see that coming. Honestly, I should have made the connection. I don't know why I never made the connection. I mean, red hair was a saint. The wife of Wilhelm was red-haired. It made sense. He's the new, saint and all that kind of stuff. So I should have made the connection there, but I didn't really get what exactly was going to be the hang-up between them. Now, here's where it's interesting. Over the scenes, yes, we see that there's this problem with them connecting again. It does seem like Reinhard doesn't want to meet his eyes. It really does more feel like, from Reinhard's perspective, he's always sort of not mad, just sort of uncomfortable around Wilhelm. He just kind of averts his eyes and he looks sad. And then you have Wilhelm's over here and he's just averting his eyes because he's sad. There's really quickly a feeling of regret here. Not anger, regret. And so as it kind of proceeds, yes, we eventually find out that there was a problem where Wilhelm, according to his son, Wilhelm was the first to blame Reinhard for the death of his wife. That's the interesting part. It shows this brief scene where they're at the grave and he's yelling at Reinhard and Reinhard walks away. Wilhelm's son, Reinhard's father, essentially says, you were the first to blame him. And then later on, Julius tells the story of this massive regret that Wilhelm has. That apparently when his wife went off to fight the whale, at the same time, a member of the royal family was kidnapped. And Wilhelm had to go find them while his wife was off fighting the whale. And then she died. So he missed the death of his wife. And it seems like he blamed Reinhard for it. Now, the question mark that immediately pops in my head is, why would he blame Reinhard for the kidnapping of a royal family member? Two theories that I have. And the first one is the most unlikely, that Reinhard was the member of the royal family that got kidnapped and Wilhelm blamed him. But that doesn't make any sense because why would Reinhard be a member of the royal family unless he was adopted into the family, which doesn't make sense there because, again, Reinhard has the same hair color as his grandmother, but just a bunch of things that doesn't make that possible. My theory as to why he would blame Reinhard is that Reinhard knew the member of the royal family, this child, and they were just playing with each other, or he was involved somehow with that kidnapping. Either he was playing with that royal family member and didn't protect them and keep them from getting kidnapped. He was meant to be kidnapped, but the royal family member got kidnapped instead. Or maybe they were just playing together and everybody thought that he got kidnapped, and then when they finally found them, Reinhard's like, I'm sorry, we wanted to go out here and play in this one field, and thus he blames Reinhard for this big fiasco happening about a possible kidnapping. Those are my theories, but either way, it does really suck, this idea that, yes, Wilhelm blamed him initially, and it seemed like he never got his chance to really say I'm sorry and reconnect with him, and it turned into this massive, it basically snowballed. It's the idea of making this mistake and then constantly being afraid of confronting him and saying, I didn't mean that, I'm sorry about that, let us make a bond again. Until finally he's defeated this whale, now he's got his chance, finally make that connection. And Subaru's like, well, he wants me to tell about this whole whale thing. Here's your chance. He really badly wants to learn about this. Let him learn about it from you. And then eventually, yes, turns into the song playing, and then him just basically wanting him to help him cook this food. Because Reinhard's really good at that. He's just flopping him over there for Felt, like, really easily. Like, he's got it figured out. This is easy. Really super cute little scene there. But yes, all kind of ruined with the father showing up. And that's a big, massive can of worms there. But yes, it kind of implies this idea that Henkel was brought there by Priscilla. Priscilla apparently heard from whispers from men that this was happening, came there in order to cause a problem. Now, how she would have gotten information about who all would be in that room and knew that bringing Henkel would cause a problem because she wants to be amused, a lot of that stuff is like, wow, that's a lot of all according to Keikaku stuff there, but it all kind of leads up to that aspect of her trying to cause a problem for some sort of entertainment. Now, it is interesting because Felt in this whole situation, I love Felt. Felt has grown so freaking much. In the face of literally that fiasco being caused, she was still keeping her temper. This is a girl that's used to people looking down upon her, and I like how she almost kind of passes over to Reinhard a bit of her own courage. And the idea that this father is looking down upon his son, mocking his son, saying, I will never give you the name. I'm going to give that power to her. Basically imply that she was going to say that before he got interrupted, but I'm going to give that power to her. I'm never going to give you the family name. I'll never give it to you. It seems like this guy completely hates his family. And I think it's a lot to do with that feud that happened between Wilhelm and Reinhard. He's a scumbag. I hate it because he's Kendra Suda. The moment I heard his voice and it's all buttery smooth in my ears, I'm going, oh, Kendra Suda, my man crush Seiyu is in that guy's mouth, which really sucks. But I know eventually we're probably going to get some good story about Henkel. Like, this writer is really good at taking characters and kind of twisting it. I mean, that happened with Pedagoose. Ever since Pedagoose, I will always trust this author into just twisting my expectations for characters, and I'm assuming eventually that'll be for Henkel. This guy seems like he's obviously hurting. And he's really being abusive to everybody around him and his family, even going so far as to, he says it's a joke, but to order people to kill his father in front of him. It's like, dude, this guy's twisted. There's something wrong in there. Something's not clicking properly in there. But anyways, it gets into the idea that he's wanting to use his family to back Priscilla. And yeah, I like how the entire time there, Felt's going, not playing into it. She's just like, yeah, you're going to get that family back. Reinhard, don't look down. You're going to get that family. You're going to take that family name. You're going to bring that title. You're going to inherit that, and we're going to use that. It was so great. I love seeing Felt just kind of standing up and not being flushed by the situation. She's just such a spitfire. I love her. But yeah, it was interesting that at some point, Henkel's just pressing on this. I'm not going to give you the family name. I will never give you that name. I'm going to give it to. And then Priscilla knocks him. Out of nowhere, just busts out this sword. Al's like right next to her, like, oh crap, you shocked me there bringing that out right now. You need to calm down. He's got to kind of keep her in check. Okay, massive question marks. There's so many question marks in this little spot. Why did she interrupt him? Was he going to reveal too much about what he's planning on doing by giving her the backing of the Austria family? Did she want him to stop because he was pushing it too far that was no longer humorous to her? Was he just going too many steps ahead that she wanted for now? Like, you're revealing too much, and I want to keep that for amusement for later. Or did she just find his attitude a little bit too much? I wonder. I want to give Priscilla a little bit of credit here in the idea of there's a possibility that she just felt like it was getting too cruel, it was getting too much, and she got tired of it. But I don't know, she could have been good-natured there. She could have been a little good-natured there. But yeah, that sword has come out of nowhere. What the hell? She knocked him out, pulling out this sword, about to cut him in half. I was like, damn. I like Priscilla. I think she's super mean. She's super, like, greedy about everything. She wants everything. Everything in the, like she says later, everything in the world is mine. It's just my massive garden. It doesn't need to be at my side. Like she was talking about Liliana. It doesn't have to be at my side. See, I don't need to own it. I own it, but it doesn't need to always be at my side. She wanted to buy Liliana, and she's like, nope, I don't want to go with you. Is she going to kill her? I had the same thought, because yes, he just basically busted out his sword over Henkel. Why not for Liliana? I don't know. Very interesting, though. She's super snotty, though. Super snotty. But I do like that whole scene in that room, even though I do get a little frustrated like some people do, where I think sometimes Subaru needs to chill out. Like, sometimes I'm a massive Subaru apologist. I feel like if anybody went through death after death after death like Subaru has, you would be equally as paranoid, you'd be as equally broken, and just unable to take it. But I do feel like sometimes he gets a little too heated, a little bit too fast. Like, tone it down like 4 notches. Like, you are at like a 15 out of 10. You need to bring it down to at least like an 8, please. Like, chill out a little bit. You can be mad, but chill down a little bit. But it's cool to see that Julius sort of seen a positive out of that. The fact that he was so outraged by what Henkel was doing and what Priscilla was doing, that he was sort of helping everybody else stay calm. Because, yeah, Amelia, when he was trying to take jabs at Amelia, she's like, no, I was asking questions. It's not about me. You know, what are you doing here for? What was your purpose here? And he kind of went, dang, that wasn't really how I was told this would go. Like, he was told that maybe possibly Amelia would crumble quickly. Like, she's a very weak girl. She'll probably crumble. Probably something that Priscilla told him. But yeah, overall, that whole thing with the father and the grandfather and the son, all that kind of stuff, that family is so broken. And I'm curious to see where it goes. My assumption is that, yes, Felt's going to help Reinhardt eventually probably take that name, take it from the father. That'll probably be the point in which the father will probably cave there a little bit. And I think that Felt will end up using Wilhelm with Reinhardt to take it. But again, like Julius said later on, there's a problem there because that whole situation with the royal family. And the idea that because of what happened with that kidnapping, because he missed the death of his wife, he wasn't there to protect her, that people will see that Wilhelm is against the royal family because he's angry at them. There's a lot mixed up in here, and it's super good. It's super good. This is the kind of stuff that really makes me excited for eventually that I will dive into the ReZero novel series, because I'm sure this is probably just immensely more in the novel itself. If we got this much in an anime adaptation, what is going to be in that book? How much more expansive and more detailed will these little segments be? There was also a thing where Subaru called Julius Julie, and it kind of made him a little nostalgic, saying that he looked up at the sky, saying that that's what Julie's seen or something like that. I wonder if he knows somebody named Julie, or if he was called Julie at some point and seen the sky. But yeah, a little kind of, I guess, nudge at something, possibly a side story there that we might get into eventually, unless it's novel exclusive. But anyhow, yes, after this, we had that little brief scene with Liliana and Priscilla. Again, everybody's afraid that Priscilla's going to kill Liliana for not accepting that. But a cute little thing there that Priscilla was dancing or something like that. Eventually has Subaru go get some food. He goes to some courtyard, bumps into rations, and then eventually Wrath shows up. And like I said before, really does feel like Wrath was trying to confirm something, wanted everybody to help them with finding that. And what they wanted to confirm was love. It kind of had it where Sirius was telling Subaru that he's welcome to leave. But then he says, but you had that question. It's like, well, I thought immediately Subaru was going to leave and then maybe possibly get attacked from behind or something like that. But no, it feels like right there, Subaru was already kind of entranced. Like, because he wanted to leave. He got the okay to leave. But then he still asked, what was your question? What did you want to confirm? Oh, well, that's love. And then just from there, it's downhill. This idea of wanting to confirm this love, bringing the boy out, you know, talking about how everybody's minds and everything are separate, and you wanting to confirm something. And again, eventually it really does feel like everybody in this conversation with Sirius, over time, everybody gets on the same page. There's the discussion about how everybody's separate. Everybody's mind is separated. Everybody has different thoughts. Not understanding other people's cause conflict. We need to understand each other. Everybody come together. Everybody become one mind, become one heart, until eventually, thank you, drops him. That's all that Sirius needed, was to have everybody on the same page and enchant everybody and become one mass. And that makes it to where whatever, again, my assumption here, whatever harm comes to that one catalyst, which was this kid at the time, will all get harmed. Now, the question mark is, how the hell is that going to be useful anywhere else besides having a speech in front of people that don't know it's coming? Like, what is a Sirius going to be able to do now that Subaru knows this? My assumption is that he's possibly going to try to confront Sirius before anybody else is able to have a conversation, before the crowd gets involved. But it could be a thing where, because he tries to confront Sirius, everybody else will turn on him because Sirius will capture the crowd. It could be like my assumption is kind of like the Pied Piper. That Sirius is kind of like the Pied Piper, just playing the flute and everybody follows. Everybody, no matter what, will follow and turn on anybody else that is trying to stop them. But that's very curious. But yeah, that all wraps up with him jumping back to that one point. Like I said, I was very shocked that was not further back. That means that not really much got reset. Everything that he had done in this episode still kept to. We're not going to have him replay all these series of events and try to decide to do something differently. So that's very curious. But did I get everything? That was a long episode, long recording. What else? Let me skim my notes. But yeah, I love the whole Yukata scene. Everybody coming out. Like Beatrice, peek, sneak. What do you think? What do you think? Like, he just doesn't realize that she's trying to show off, but she's trying to do it like casually. And finally he notices and he's like, oh, it's super cute. And then Amelia comes out and he's like, oh my gosh, it's Amelia. And you start, huffing out his nose. And then you have poor little Beatrice is like, dang it. Like, he's paying attention to Amelia. And then everybody comes out and they make some passing comment about how Reynard caused him problems. And then getting into the idea of ulterior motives. And Felix has never had an ulterior motive. There's a reason why he's helping you out, Krush. It's like a little, like a random confession right there that, yes, Felix loves Krush. Big shock, right? I'm pretty sure pre-memory loss, Krush knew that. It's just probably now it's kind of relearning it. It's cute. Yeah, it was also odd that Anastasia sent off Joshua at some point to go get a letter that had the information about Greed. And then it just like cuts to, it's nighttime, they're all doing this other stuff, and then it's the next day and everything, and it's like, did something happen to Joshua? Like, anybody question the fact what happened to him? I mean, it said that it was at the main gate. And that could be the entrance of the town. But how long does it take to travel back and forth? I mean, they got there in daylight. So, I don't know. It was a little weird. I'm assuming something happened to him. But I think he showed up later in the episode. So it's very weird. Unless they talked about the letter, maybe I just missed it. I don't know. Anyhow, I think that's everything. But yeah, really love this episode. Really fantastic start. And hopefully now that we're down to like regular time length of episodes, these videos won't be as long and it take me as long to go through all this stuff. But I just wanted to dive through everything and just kind of pick through it. It's a lot of fun. I love this writer and I'm really curious to see where things go from here. If you are a light novel reader, I do not need answers to any speculation that I have brought up in this video. So please keep the spoilers in check down there in the comments. I don't want anybody else getting spoiled as well, but really fantastic. Hope you guys will join me week by week as we go through this entire season. I think it's going to be 16 episodes for this. They did mention, I think, like the full season's going to be like 30-something episodes. Really cool stuff there. I cannot wait. But anyhow, I hope you guys enjoy this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below, comment. Let me know what's the thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe before you leave. If you like this content and you want to support the channel more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate what it does. Until next time, take care.